Alright, so something a little bit different today. We all know I'm kind of new at the game and I probably suck. But there is the shop challenge going on this week, so I kind of wanted to participate, I guess. Not to win, of course. We all know that probably isn't happening. Just to see how far I've come along in regards to, I guess, playing my decks. And I guess kind of to test them a little bit as well, too. And just to have a little bit of fun and just seeing how it goes. I believe how the shop challenge works is that if you place first, you get a buy card going to the regionals. Of course, reality strikes and we're pretty sure we're not going to be topping in anything. But we do want to have fun while setting our expectations, right? In regards to right now, I'm kind of deciding between which deck I will be playing. So we have the Camelot deck here. We have the hybrid Babylonia deck, which is the standby gold bar. We have our Tokyo Revengers 12 standby, and then we have our Arsmandius that we did the profile on, which is the 8 gold bar deck. And I guess while we're doing the deck decision, right off the bat, I'm probably just going to say 12 standby Revengers is probably not going to stand a chance in general. From what I've seen and the games that I've tested, it's not very consistent. And I felt like, I guess the one thing I learned about while I'm playing, aside from the fact that I'm bad at the game, is that consistency is a really big key to the game, where if you're able to draw a dead hand and you can't move it, you want to have some way to filter through it. And when you end up dumping your hand because you just have no other better plays, to be able to, I guess, draw back into a hand, which I don't really feel like the Revengers has the tools in the 12 standby deck to actually fill back up your hand. And it felt very restrictive in regards to it, where if you misplay it, I don't know if it is a 12 standby deck thing in general, where I felt like if you misplay the 12 standby Revengers deck, you're fucked. You're just fucked. So maybe I'm just bad. So we'll just probably not play that. The 12 gold bar, I like it, but I would say I'm still more comfortable with my Camelot and Fate Grand Order deck, the Babylonia. I would say between the Camelot and the Babylonia deck, I feel like my Lion King deck is a little bit more consistent. So I'll probably bring the Fate Grand Order decks and then just to see how it goes. But most likely I'm going to be playing the Lion King deck today, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Alright, so we just parked. I've decided we're gonna play the Lion King deck. We'll see how it goes. It's roasting. It's 80-something degrees outside today, and yeah, the sunlight, it burns. It's been a while since we've been outside. So let's just see how the games goes. I think I'm the most comfortable with my Lion King deck, where it feels like I can still Unga Bunga without thinking, while having a lot of options. So let's see how the games goes, and then I'll update you guys from there. All right, the sun is down. It's 8:22. I just finished at locals, and yeah, it went pretty well. I lucked out. I got the bye, so I went 3-0. I won 2 of my games. I guess I'll go over the games when I get home. So I was 3-0, and I played for, I guess, like the first place, which gets the byes to regionals. Honestly, even if I won, I'm pretty sure I would have get bodied at regionals anyways. And then I did lose the last round to Mushoku, so I guess I ended up at 3-1. When I get home after the long drive, I guess I'll go over the games. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Alright, and we're finally back home. So we have our blessing from our No Penguin center marker. We walked out with a Hestia promo at the end of the day, and overall, I would say I had a lot of fun. I had 2 goals today, right? 1 was to have fun. 2 was to walk away with at least 1 win. That's all I wanted, at least 1 win. We have low expectations, right? We already know that we suck at the game. I'm not going to be like one of those people that say that they're really good at the game or think that they're good. I know I absolutely suck at this fucking game. So walking away with at least 1 win was just pretty much my goal, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're playing a game like this, especially if you're not looking to become like the world fucking champion or something like that, you're playing these games, you're expecting, like, you know what? If you're going to your locals and you're walking out with all losses, then you know, okay, there's things you need to work on, right? If you're walking out with at least 1 win, depending on how the 1 win goes, if you felt like it was completely luck, there's still some stuff to work on, right? But for me, I guess today, since I walked out with the one freebie from the buy from the first game, and I walked out with at least 2 wins. I feel somewhat comfortable enough to kind of say that, you know, I think I've gotten better at the game to a point where I'm comfortable with saying, okay, you know what? I'm not looking to become like the best, but I'm okay enough that I know that I somewhat got the basics down. So at the end of the thing, we went 3-1. One win was from a freebie. The 2 games I won, one game I played against Hololive. The first game I played against Ruby. The second game I played against Hololive. The third game, which I lost, I played against Standby Mushoku. I mean, obviously, right? But I would say I kind of also wanted to go over the games as well too, just for myself as well, kind of just to analyze it, as well as I guess for anyone that was curious how like it went. The first game against Ruby was actually really hilarious. Actually, before I played the first game, I just want to say that like I was watching the person playing next to me. He was also playing Lion King, but he was playing Standby Lion King, and he was playing against quintuplets. I saw him having a really bad time against Standby quintuplets, the new set that came out. So I figured if I run into another Standby deck, I'd probably get fucked pretty hard too. I think he somehow ended up winning. I don't remember if he won or lost, but I guess yeah, I kind of saw what was coming for me. But it was pretty funny because my opening hand for the Ruby game was like, alright, so I'm opened up to a bunch of level 3s or whatever. Fine, right? And then I ended up mulliganing, I believe, like 4 or 5. I dumped them pretty much my whole hand. And ironically, after I mulliganed, when I drew the 4 cards, my opening hand ended up looking like this. This was my opening hand. And then I couldn't play anything from my level 0 turn. I believe I think I clocked the climax. I drew 2. I drew into, I think, like, it was hilarious. It's hilarious to even think about it. I think I drew into a bunch of level 1s. I had nothing to play. I was going first. I passed turn. I went first. I passed turn. I had nothing, no stock, nothing. I couldn't swing. It was absolutely terrible. I believe the second turn I ended up getting the aggravating brainstormer onto the field at least, and then yeah, I think I ended up clocking 2 when I drew into the next turn. I think I drew into like a Tristan. And with the Tristan, I was able to at least get the Brainstormer on field. And when I got the Brainstormer on field, I knew, okay, at least I could somewhat go through my deck. But it was pretty bad because I knew that by that time, since I already drew into 3-4 climaxes, I believe within the first or 2 turns, when I clocked the drew again, I pretty sure I drew into another climax, and by that time I was out 5 to 6 climaxes, and my deck was like this thick, and I knew that I might as well consider the game was over, because I thought, you know, there's no way I'm coming back from this, right? Past turn 1, no swing, they filled the board, they kept swinging at me, and I was gonna eat the damage, so I went straight to 1. And then I think I ended up playing the Tristan in order to get either the Brainstormer or the Brainstormer or another Bedivere into hand. And then I ended up getting another Bedivere on the field, so that way I was able to play the Bedivere combo to kind of fill the board. And luckily, the game went in my favor afterwards. So I didn't actually get to record the game or like, I guess, like take a picture, because that'd be kind of rude. But like during the game, it went actually in my favor afterwards, because even after getting the Bediveres onto the board, when I swung, they canceled everything and they stayed at level 1. And they stayed at level 0 and they couldn't hit level 1, so they couldn't play their level 1 cards. So I was behind, and somehow it worked out for me, because with like 2 Bediveres on the board, I was able to mill through another 4 cards. I brainstormed to go through my deck even more. So I just kept trying to go through my deck, and because I knew there was only like, what, 1 or 2 climaxes left in there. And by the time they hit 1, I was already in the position to hit level 2. And because I kind of ended up sandbagging, not even on purpose, I ended up with the Bedivere combos and whatnot. I ended up getting the Lion Kings on the board, and by that time, all my cards were between level 1 and 2 for them were all bigger than his board because I was one level ahead the whole time, and no matter what, they just couldn't set up a board. And by the time they got to level 2 and got the early play, I think they played Apira. By the time they were able to remove the Lion King on board, I already had more Lion Kings on hand just from playing through my turns, so I just kept dropping them back down, and at that point, I was staying at level 2, and by staying at level 2, I also was able to early play the Bedivere to heal myself, and it just ended up working out in my favor. One thing I did learn, though, is if you're a new player like me and all you remember most of the time is face is the place and you just swing and go for broke, which is pretty much what I do, I honestly feel bad, for anyone that loses against me, because I kind of just play like a gorilla and I just kind of swing without thinking, especially since one thing I also want to mention is like these were 30-minute rounds, so they were really, really short, so there really wasn't that much time to think, at least for me. I guess I felt a little bit pressured, so... But I guess it kind of fits my playstyle since I don't really think anyways. I'm just like, oh, whatever. I'm not looking to become like the world champion. I just want to play the game and have fun. But yeah, before I got sidetracked, one thing I did learn though, side attacking. Side attacking is a really big thing. He was playing these Piras and it ended up not mattering because it was for his early play, right? And since he was always canceling on me, he didn't really get to play the early play for it to matter at that point. So a card like this goes into memory when it gets reversed, right? So since it's a level 0, if you ever run into cards like this, most of the time the requirement for this to go into the memory is it needs to be reversed. But when they have 2 of these in their memory, that's how they end up playing the early play for their level 3s. They have this in Tokyo Revengers as well too. So you're pretty much plan against a level 0 like this is just side attack it. If you side attack it, you're gonna do damage anyways, because when you side attack, you subtract the level, right? So if you minus 0, then you're still doing your damage, and they can't do anything with this card if you end up side attacking with it. So I didn't think about this when I was playing. It didn't matter in the end anyways, but I just kind of swung at it and it went to his memory and it went in for his favor. By the time he played his level 3 early play, it didn't matter anyways. But for future reference, I guess, like, which is why I'm kind of going over my games as to what I could have done better. Just be careful of stuff like this. The second game was against Hololive. It kind of went somewhat similar to the first game where face is the place, and I ended up eating 4 damage or 5 damage at a time, and I went straight to level 1 and almost level 2 without any cancels at all. I mean, which was, I guess, kind of a good thing, right? Because I guess for the most part, level 0 isn't too big of a deal. I mean, it still kind of sucks to eat it in the face like that, but that meant that a lot of my climaxes were inside of my deck. I don't remember in any of my games except my last game with Mushoku, I actually triggered any of my climaxes. I think I only triggered it once or twice. So even without thinking, I guess I ended up being in a pretty good state to cancel, and I guess I kind of lucked out. Against Hololive, I did run into where the Raider Knight Mordred actually saved me a lot of times playing her, where she was able to face the early plays, as well as by dropping the climaxes with dropping the Bonder. If I can find it here, just to show you guys. By dropping the Bonder as well too, I was able to remove cards from the field when I dropped the climax, so that was definitely, I really think this card is really, really, really good. But yeah, Hololive, it kind of sucked, right? One thing I ran into was this card. This card is disgusting. It is fucking disgusting. When they have 2 of the colors, they were able to play this at level 2, and they were able to level down 2 of my characters. Not just 1. They were leveled down 2 of my characters on the field, which, in the field, they were able to level down my Lion King, and that kind of sucked. But at that point, again, right, I ran into the same issue where I was kind of rushed to level 2, and by that time, I actually was able to get more Lion Kings on my hands. So I was again able to drop down more Lion Kings. And then I was also able to drop down again either the Mordred or the Bedivere for the early play, because the Mordred condition for the early play was that it requires there to be for this Mordred on the screen right now, it requires there to be a level 3 card on the field and like an early player, and it just heals me 1, which kind of keeps me in the game, and which was kind of an option when you're playing the Lion King deck, where if they have early plays and you're kept at level 2 rather than clocking yourself and bringing yourself to 3, you have those options. And I was in a pretty good state, honestly. One thing I did make a mistake on was that I ended up playing over the back row Lion King, I think the Agravane, so I couldn't top check. And when I actually won the game, I played the Lion King down and I thought I could top check. I think I top checked the level 3 or something like that. I had 3 cards on the board. And since my Agravane was gone, I was actually not allowed to top check. So I kind of fucked up and I feel kind of bad about it, because when I swung the Lion King, I mean, granted that I probably would have swung with her first anyways if I have no idea what is in my deck, because why not, right? But it was kind of what won me the game, because I think if I didn't swing with her first based on, I guess, the order of operations, then they probably would have ended up canceling some of the damage. But it ended up working out the way they've worked out. I mean, for those 2 games, honestly, like, it was what it was. I kind of feel bad where the people who play against me, I kind of just luck into these wins, sort of, because I kind of unga boonga into these wins. I don't really think about it, and like, well, it just happens, it just happens. As for a third game, there really wasn't really that much notable about it. Honestly, playing against Standby Mushoku with the Lion King deck, I really had no answers to most of the things. Like, even at level 1, by playing the Bedivere combos, I was able to get, like, cards into my hand. I was able to get the Lion King into the hand, but they played the Paul card, which had some kind of... Honestly, like, I think as a new player, the one thing I realized is that I don't pay enough attention to other people's deck. I don't know the matchup, so I'm just kind of, like, swinging and just praying for the best. Which is honestly why I really didn't have any intentions of going like, oh yeah, if I win, then I'm going to go to, like, regionals or whatever, and had any delusion that I was going to do good. No, right? I honestly was just looking to have fun, play the game, and then I guess I was blessed by the no penguin. But I was just looking to have fun and play the game. I honestly had no delusion that even... I mean, I'm glad, like, the buy card actually went to someone else, because I don't think I would even perform well even if I went to regionals. I kind of walked away with this going like, oh, you know what? I got better at the game from since I actually started the game. The person I actually played against, I played Mushoku, was actually one of the first people that were actually teaching me how to play the game when I went to my first local. So it was actually pretty cool. And I guess it's nice to see that I've kind of went a long way since then. But in regards to the Mushoku matchup, it is just disgusting. The 2/2 Ghislaine, let me try to pull it up on screen. But yeah, once they started dropping these 2/2 Ghislaines on the field, I honestly had no answer to it. Their board always ended up being bigger than mine, where they dropped these and then everything was just like big, and I just couldn't get past it, because I believe they also had the Roxy in the back row as well too, which pumped it by another 2,000. And then he also at some point kept dropping these Pauls on me, which with each of the buffs that are on the field, he ended up being like something ridiculous, like 13 or something like that. 13, 14. I just couldn't get rid of them. No matter what I did, I just couldn't get rid of them. By the time I early played one of my Lion Kings, the Lion Kings got popped off the board by the counter, and then they were just bigger than me on every turn. And I guess one mistake I actually end up making, honestly, when I play and being, I guess, like a newer player, is that I end up dumping my hands so often. And if you blow your load and just drop everything and your hand is empty and you have no answer to it, then once you lose the board, that's it. At that point, I had like 1 or 2 cards in hand. I had nothing left to swing at them. They were like level 2, and by the time they hit 3, my hand was empty and I couldn't do anything at all. It was like, this deck was just disgusting to play against, and I just had no answer from the beginning of the game all the way up to the end of the game, because I was just always trying to keep up. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of expected, right? I guess at the end of the day, I'm playing the Lion King deck, and I guess there's a reason why most people don't play it. But overall, I would say that I had a lot of fun playing, to be honest. I walked away with knowing that I've tinkered enough with my Lion King deck to a point where I feel like I'm comfortable enough with it. At some point, as a new player, I also don't run backups. I really don't like backups. But the one thing about playing my Tokyo Revengers deck, since it sucks so much ass, was not that it sucks, right? But it's very, very unforgiving. You would think that playing a standby deck is very unga bunga. Maybe it is, depending on the set that you play. But for Tokyo Revengers 12 standby Draken, it's very, very unforgiving. And I guess one thing it taught me was to be a little bit better of a player, to be able to just like, okay, to conserve my hand and knowing not to dump all my resources, because once you dump your hand, that's it. Running backups sucking at the game has taught me something where when you're drawn to certain cards like this, right, and searching them out, you hold on to these things, whether it's backup events, the Mikey for the Tokyo Revengers deck. I guess it taught me to hold on to cards like this, where even if I'm not playing it for the effect, I'm just playing it for the one stock for the backup. It matters a lot. So it taught me how to hold on to my hand, and I guess that kind of made me a little bit better of a player, where I felt comfortable with it. So that's pretty much how my shop challenge went. It was really, really fun. Again, I feel kind of bad for the people that lost against me since I kind of just unga bunga through my games. But to me, like, that's how I have fun playing Weiss, to be honest. You know what? I rather just go, like, you know, swing for the fences, faces the place, and pray for the best. And that's how I have fun playing this game. Which is why I guess all my decks kind of fit this similar type of playstyle, where most of it is, like, very, very little thinking involved. I guess the Lion King is kind of a little bit more thoughtful. The Revenger standby deck was deceptively very, very, very thinking intensive. Maybe at some point I'll kind of go over that as well too. But yeah, I hope this was somewhat enjoyable to watch. I'm not sure if I would ever go to a shop challenge, and it's a little bit intimidating, to be honest. Especially since, like, even if I win the shop challenge or whatever it is, which in this case I kind of got close to winning by random luck. I really don't think I would even bother going to regionals, because I would probably just get bodied and bent over and pounded, because I just don't like playing meta decks, to be honest. And some of these decks are just fucking disgusting. Like, Hololive is pretty disgusting to play against. I have no idea how they ended up losing to me. I guess I just got lucky. Mushoku was pretty disgusting to play against. I mean, I played against it even with standby Revengers, and it's a pretty disgusting deck to play against. I would assume once standby quintuplets kind of gets running as well too, that's going to be a pretty disgusting deck. So for now, I think I'm more of a casual player, and I'll stick with more of a casual setting. But I just kind of want people to know that you shouldn't be afraid to go to your locals just to play. It doesn't have to be super competitive. You just kind of set goals for yourself, kind of like me, where, you know what, I'm walking in, I'm looking to have fun. As long as I walk away with at least one W, then I know that, hey, you know what, I won one game, so I know I'm getting a little bit better at it. If you know that you're winning based on just, like, random luck, which most of the time I could tell when I'm winning by luck, right? Then you know, okay, there's certain things you need to work on, whether it's your deck to fix or whatever it is, right? And if you're looking to play the game, I think that's kind of like the goals you want to aim for, where you know, if you're just winning by luck, there's a lot for you to work on. And if you see yourself playing some games and you're not winning by luck, and you actually took a win and go like, you know what, actually played it well, then that's the purpose of playing these games, right? Where you're playing it a little bit more in a competitive setting, where you kind of know, like, where you need to go from there. All right, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.